Alright, welcome to another Kings of War 3rd edition battle report. Abyssals versus the Brotherhood. 2,000 points. The scenario was Raze. So I went a totally different direction with my Abyssal army to have something that's a little more friendly to play in friendly games. That's not just three big giant hammers of death. And so to that end, I went ahead and made a list that I thought would be do really well at grabbing scenario points and also reducing characters and shooting, and that's how I focused. So I started out with two hordes of lower abyssals, both with imps, one with the brew of strength and one with the hammer of measured force, two regiments of abyssal ghouls, a gargoyle troop, one horde of Molochs with imps, a dragon shard shield, and a champion, a unit of tortured souls with Han's sanguinary scripture, a hellhound regiment with the brew of sharpness, a seductress with the healing brew, two abyssal warlocks, one with bane chant and one with veil, a heliquin with the scrying gem, and Isuzu the trooper. I cannot say his name, so that's what we're going to call him from now on. So then we go on to deployment. I did use the scrying gem, and that caused Jim to put out a bunch more units. I think 3, which was good. So that gave me a little bit of an advantage just to be able to play some stuff later in the turn. So how it started, I put a unit of ghouls in the upper left hand corner. Next to them was the heliquin, and then my horde of Molochs, and these guys are decked out with dragon shard shield, the champion, and imps. In the woods is the abyssal warlock. I think he's the one with bane chant, and next to him is the lower abyssals with measured force. Now that was a total backwards move. That unit should have probably been in the middle. I mean, that abyssal warrior should have been in the middle, and the other one should have been there. Another unit of ghouls. Next to the ghouls is Isuzu the trooper and the seductress on either side of him. The other abyssal warlock, this one that had Veil of Shadows, is there. The other horde of lower abyssals, this one has the brew of strength, and then behind the house are the gargoyles. Over behind the woods are the tortured souls, and then lastly on the far right flank are my hellhounds, and the hellhounds have the brew of sharpness, so 24 swings with hitting on 3s, and most assuredly they'll get to outcharge anything since they have a charge of 18. So that was my plan to deal with that. So my strategy this game, just to let you know, is I was intending to take the 2 left red dots and then try to take the middle and maybe sweep in and get the other one. I don't know if I could get the other one, but I really needed 3. So and to deny him his 2. And to that end, I put everything pretty much over on the left flank as you look down from the screen toward his guys. On the right flank, I just put some fast stuff over there to slow down those Abyssal Hunt guys. They're a nasty unit. So I tried to do that, and this time Jim did what I told him to do last time, which is put a couple of units of knights on the same flank, and that way they could seriously pressure my flank. So that's what he did, and off into the game. So I had a unit advantage over on the left flank, and so I pushed forward, staying on line, but just trying to get up there and get to where I was poised to take one of the objectives fairly quick. The ghouls and the heliquin moved up. The heliquin was going to be my chaff unit, a fast chaff unit to help out the Molochs. The other abyssals, just lower abyssals, moved forward, and the abyssal warlock. My ghouls in the middle moved forward just a little bit further because I was trying to just give them multiple things to shoot at, since he had his 2 big shooters right there in the middle. The lower abyssals moved up to boldly try to take the middle objective, because I was wanting to pressure him in the middle and then kind of swing like a gate back toward from my left side over to the right side to get that objective. And up to on the right side, I just was playing patty cake with him. I mean, the hellhounds might have been able to, with a lucky dice roll, take out something, but pretty much only with a flank charge on those heavily armored knights. And the tortured souls are just there to mess with things anyway. And I mean, they've always served me well. They're just annoying because of their speed and the fact that they fly. That helps them out a lot. So this is Jim's turn one. Over on the left-hand side, he moved up and slightly angled toward toward my objective, the red dot there. His shooting knocked 4 wounds off of my Abyssal Ghouls, but since I had a nice Abyssal Warlock there to inspire them, they just shrugged it off. In the middle, he moved up very strong with the Spearman and the Paladins. I really thought maybe you should have thrown another unit in there because, I mean, I have a little unit advantage going into this side of the table. Over on the right, I guess the extreme speed of the Hellhounds and the Tortured Souls caused him to hold his knights back just a little bit. And so his shooting did he did 5 wounds there, so that was good, you know, with some shooting stuff. And 1 to my Seductress, which is a freak because, I mean, she's an individual and she has stealthy, and so it's like the odds of her being hit are just stupid. In the first turn, I did roll to use my Veil of Shadows and just blew it. I rolled double ones, as a matter of fact, and probably never. I didn't really use it the rest of the game because I didn't need to. So in my turn, the last couple of games I've played are snooze fest, and this one was going to be nothing like a snooze fest. Over on the left flanks, I went ahead and charged my Harlequin into his knights to keep them from, of course, getting Thunderous and something else they have. Pushed the ghouls up right in their face, and then the Molochs came to the top of the hill at the same time. The Seductress charged the Ballista, did 5 wounds to it, and I think I rolled Snake Eyes or 3 or something stupid. And then Basuzu, he went and charged, I don't remember what he charged, and destroyed it, but then he started looking toward something else, and I can't remember what he destroyed, though, for the life of me. Oh, I know what he destroyed. He destroyed the trebuchet, and then was aimed toward the back of his other characters who were standing in the back of my army. I went ahead and charged the Abyssal Ghouls into the Paladins, and the reason why is because I just wanted them to stay occupied so that I could get maybe some flank charges in on his Spearmen when they impacted. The Hellhounds played patty cake again, turning toward the middle of the table. The Tortured Souls, I went ahead and moved them down so that no matter what, next turn I should be able to finish off that unit of Spearmen, and we'll have to see how that went. Down at the bottom, I think I did 2 wounds with my Abyssal Warlock on his, I can't think what they're called. Anyway, they're low armored guys. They have strength 1, +1. So on to Jim's turn 2. Over on the left flank, he countercharged the Harlequin. I think he got him up to 3 wounds, but he passed his break test. He bane-chanted his unit of Paladins to attack my Abyssal Ghouls there, and went ahead and charged with his Spearmen into my lower Abyssals. Both of his characters went ahead and charged the Tortured Souls, which I really didn't expect, but that was a good move. And then he got right in the face of my Hellhounds up there, and I left myself in a bad spot because, I mean, I have Nimble, and I just couldn't get, even with all the machinations, I could not get out of his charge arc, so I was going to be forced to do something next turn. His Knights in the woods down there charged and are angled now toward the flank of my Tortured Souls, which is not going to be a good thing for me. So much happened this turn. I went ahead and included another shot. Down at the on the left-hand side, the Knights did waver my Harlequin, and but he has Fury, doesn't care. 4 wounds, he just shrugged it off. In the middle, the Paladins got my Ghouls up to 10, but only wavered them. I was just pretty happy. The worst thing I've seen was when he charged in with his Spearmen and did 3 lousy wounds to my lower Abyssals. And I would have taken a lot more, except this time I used the Brew of Strength and kept my armor up to 4, and that saved me. My Tortured Souls took 5 wounds from both of his combined heroes, and that was it for the turn, but kind of an eventful turn. So on my turn 3, one thing I want to point out is I charged the Succubus into the Arbalest and did 5 wounds and did not waver it. So the next turn I moved up and charged his Mage and wavered it with 5 wounds, but I haven't killed either one of them. And that's the question I have, was should I have just stayed and killed the Arbalest and then went to kill the Wizard? I mean, either way, it's going to take the same amount of turns after I screwed around doing this. The Over on the left flank, the Molochs charged into the knights, and any kind of average dice should have killed them. But I didn't roll average dice. I rolled pretty crappy. But I did waver them. The mistake I made is the whole thing of last game is I ended up with taking a charge from knights and losing my Molochs on a bad dice roll. And this game I'd taken the Dragon Shard Shield on purpose. And I also have Abyssal Imps, which could have got all my wounds back potentially. And I had the Dragon Shard Shield to take, so he would have needed 5s to wound me. I didn't pop it, and there was no reason not to. As if you look at the table, there's no other knights anywhere near me. If I was going to use it, I should have used it right then. In fact, I just totally forgot about it, which was bad for me. In the middle, the lower Abyssals got a flank charge on the Paladin and wiped them out. And then I think turned back toward the guys there to have 1 wound. And my lower Abyssals had an excellent turn and wavered the spearmen, I think with the boxcars, but it was a near run thing. The Basuzu went ahead and did 4 wounds to his captain, but of course with his magic items he took 2 back. I got 2 back on his paladin, which I don't see his wounds on there, but I got 2 back on it, and then and so that gave me 2 back on life leech. Over on the right hand side, I actually did 7 to his cavalry, but he used his magic items to gain 2 of those wounds back. So on to Jim's turn 3, and as I mentioned last turn, I don't know why in the hell I didn't pop my Dragon Shard Shield or use my imps up. Like I said, there was no reason not to. There wasn't any threat left on the left hand side of the table. I didn't do it. He got a counter charge. He rolled lucky enough to get a counter charge with his knife. Did 6 wounds. I had a 10. And he rolled it. Same thing he did last game, was roll the 10. And I had, like a moron, did not have any inspiring dudes in it there. Perhaps next game I'll take the inspiring talisman on the Heliquin if I take the Heliquin again instead of the scrying thing, because that would have helped me out big time this game to have another mobile source, because I'm kind of down sources because in my other unit I almost have an inspiring source for almost every unit. He couldn't really do anything in the middle because his big unit was wavered, so he healed them. He did manage to kill my tortured souls, and then kept messing with. He did 4 wounds to Basuzu, which was bad. His knights easily brushed aside the hellhounds. They can give it, but they sure as hell can't take it. And then his knights in the Wood Center just kept angling, trying to get in a good angle for an attack down there. All of his shooting, I'll be damned if he didn't roll like a bajillion 6s and wavered my seductress. I mean, this is an individual with stealth, and he got hit that many, and he even had moving archers needing 7s, and so but he still managed to roll it, still wavered it. See, this is where I made the mistake. I should have killed the magic user or killed the bolt thrower and just not left one or the other. Instead, I moved one to the other thinking I could get either one of them. Rolled poorly, and then this is what I got for it, was this whole mess right here of a wavered succubus, which was totally unnecessary. So over on the left flank, the Heliquin and the unit of ghouls went ahead and charged the severely wounded unit of knights and managed to dispatch them. Now his archers over there are actually facing to the right because they had been shooting the seductress. My wounded seductress had moved back and moved over the wall to make it a little bit harder to be shot. In the very middle, the unit of ghouls had flank charged his spear unit, and then between that and of course the Abyssals from the front, managed to destroy them. I'd moved my my gargoyles down and killed his captain, and then turned to face the awesome night charge that's obviously going to come. Basuzu is sitting there behind them. I don't remember what happens to him here in a second, but that was the end of my turn 4, and I've got the middle pretty strong, and then the other lower Abyssal unit is headed toward the middle. Probably should have left one of the magic users back on that other dot there, but I had plenty of time to get one back there, so kind of no harm no foul thing, but that was kind of could have been a bad thing had the game gone on longer. I just want to point out the advent of my mistake in the middle. That actually cost me my unit of ghouls, which would have been good chaff. His wizard had went up and fireballed them and got rid of them. I mean, they were at 10 wounds. You could have breathed hard on them and they would have been gone. But that was the stupidity of my attack. So what I did this turn is I went ahead and charged the Heliquin into the ballista. I'm sorry, yeah, ballista, whatever it's called, arbalist, and killed it. Then the succubus went ahead and killed the wizard finally, got rid of it. And then after I moved all my stuff, I moved up to support the best I could on the hill. After I'd beaten the spearman, I had the next turn I had just backed up and just to get out of range. I didn't want to be double charged by those knights. But I mean, I knew I could probably handle a single charge, but just not handle a double charge. Down in the left-hand corner, the ghouls wavered his unit of elf archers, and that's the end of the turn. Went really fast now. So this is the final turn of the game. There really wasn't anything to do after this. One over on the left flank, the Heliquin had went ahead and charged into the archers and killed them with his 3 attacks, 3 wounds, and they failed their test. The ghouls had just backed up to take the objective. In the very middle, one of the Abyssal warlocks, who kind of forgot about the idea was to take objectives, started moving back towards one in case there was a turn 7 and I needed another one. He went ahead and opted to charge my unit up on the hill with his knights, and we did some decent wounds. I regenerated a whole bunch of them back. I think I was just back down to 5 wounds. And so the next turn I went ahead and charged in with the lower Abyssals that had the hammer of measured force and destroyed that unit. Because, I mean, he really needed to bust that one off the hill and hope for a turn 7, but that just didn't happen and the game ended. There really wasn't... I mean, at this point, he has 1 objective. I had 1, but I definitely had the middle, and if there was another turn, I would have had another one. So it's actually a lot tighter than you think it is because, I mean, it's 2-1 right now. If you look at how the board is set up, not to say that if there wasn't a turn 7, there wouldn't have been another objective taken, but 2-1 is a damn fine game if you think about it, and it went all the way down to the very, very end. So as usual, I record my thoughts of after the game. The army did okay. I still am not a believer in gargoyles. I mean, they did serve as decent chaff this game, but I just have a hard time using them. Maybe I need to use more of them, but not really been a believer in the gargoyles. But I mean, their whole goal in this game was to keep me from taking charges, and if they're neglected, to run down and take an objective that maybe something else had left behind. If I made a change in my list, I probably would have just went ahead and dropped the Scrying Gem and went ahead and taken the Inspiring Talisman on the Heliquin. And I know that's an anomaly, what happened, but I prefer not to have anomalies from bad dice rolls. And I'm almost positive that a reroll in that 10 was not a very high probability. My Molochs would have been alive. In the end, the Molochs, it didn't really matter. I mean, I kept telling myself during the game what a catastrophe it was, but it didn't really matter. Once I had that objective over there and I kept rid of the Knights, I was in good shape at that point. So losing them, yeah, it was bad, but I don't really think they could have got back into the game because of the position of the house and everything. I just don't think I could have got enough, had enough movement to get back in the game there. Both lower Abyssal hordes, I was just really impressed. I know they're just place takers, but they could take such a hit because of having regeneration and get some of that back. So that may be around, instead of being around like 2 turns like a regular horde, they might sneak in with 3 with a decent regeneration roll. The Abyssal Warlocks I'd screwed up. I should have had them reversed as far as where their location was. I needed the Bane Chant next to the ones with the Brew of Strength, that unit there. That would have been the best place for my Bane Chant one. And I probably could have just moved and put the Bane Chant and the Veil on that one if I really intended to have him out there in the open, which might be a good plan in the future. And that way, when I'm not fighting, I've got the Veil on. When I do fight, I can throw Bane Chant. And if I'm just have nothing else to do, I can go ahead and shoot. So it seems kind of stupid to put 3 good spells on the same, 2 good spells and then a shooting attack on the same one. Torture Souls did okay. I mean, they forced some charges, which is, what I always think they do. Hellhounds, I kind of screwed them up. I got too close to him. I should have stayed back and just used my Nimble to keep out of his line of sight. I mean, they still got. He did manage to do 7 wounds to those knights, which could have wavered them or something else, but it didn't. I think I rolled actually a little bit low on the number of hits because I mean that's a lot of swings. So I should have hit about 18 times, and wounded about 9, and I wounded 7. But 9 is big difference when you're rolling for a break test. So I mean those 2 points could have made a huge difference if I would have got lucky. But made a huge mistake down there with I mean I should have just used with the seductor. I should have killed the stupid arbalest and then turned around and killed the mage, make sure they're both dead before I did anything else, because it ended up costing me a unit, and it was stupid because I spent the points to get rid of those tertiary characters, and I failed. Bethusa, I don't know if that was his name. This was Ma Tubutsu, whatever it is, that was his name. He's pretty much like an assassin, but you don't really want to square him away too much up with an armor 5 guy that can swing back unless you think you can nail him in one turn. And the paladin hero guy, I guess he calls him the captain, was tough enough to actually shirk it off, and plus he had the shard, so he got 1 back, and then he got Iron Resolve, which got 1 back. So now he's down 2, and he was killed, I think, by the paladin in the very end there. On a good dice roll on that part, but the army did okay. Like I said, I think I'd make a minor changes to it. You know, this is kind of me, would be a friendly list. I still think I could probably just dump the Hellhounds for something else, because I mean by the time you decked them out, they're 220 points. I mean I could have another horde of Molochs. I could have move some other stuff around and have Abyssal Horsemen, Gargoyles. Maybe not. I just need to be more patient with them. But they did serve their what they needed to do, which is stop that knights from charging my horde in a key turn. So like I say, I bitch about them, but on the other hand, they do their job. So like I said, I'll make a couple of minor tweaks to the list and see how it goes next time. But I mean, like I said, the list is not meant to be a tourney winner list or anything. It's meant to be a list for fun games, and doesn't really do anything super well except fight, which it does. But the thing it's supposed to have done well was kill characters, and I got rid of both artillery pieces. I got rid of the wizard, I got rid of the captain, and the only thing he had left was a paladin. So though I took losses and damage, they did exactly what they're supposed to do. So I mean, if you think about the points there, you know that wizard's probably 90 points or close to it, and so I mean they paid for themselves. I mean, you know, even if it was a break even, they kept the characters from doing any kind of inspiring or anything like that, which was good. Wish I would have got the paladin because he was healing units back, but that just didn't happen. Anyway, and my fast flank over there, I did kind of like that idea because you couldn't get too far forward with those hellhounds. I got to figure out how to be a little bit more skillful with the movement of the hellhounds to see, because I mean you don't want them to get shot at or spelled, so you have to kind of play tricky with them. Whereas if those were Abyssal Horsemen, I would have just moved them right out there in somebody's face. So anyway, good game, Jim, and this one was very tight, 2-1 for the Abyssals.